Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Journey here on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Ella LeBain is our guest tonight on the show. We will bring her in momentarily. We're getting into all the woo tonight, so get ready to ride the woo train. This is going to be one fun adventure. Before we bring Ella in, and I'm going to tell you right now, she's got beautiful hair. Puts my hair to shame. It's terrible. Oh, well, it's not terrible. It's that her hair is gorgeous. I'm going to be absolutely blunt. You'll see in a minute. Let's say hello to everyone in our chat room. Race fan in the gold medal position. Nilbog Lort takes home a silver with gorgeous Aussie Ange with the bronze medal tonight. Hi, Simon Wales. Hi, Awesome Ann Palmer. Bonjour, Guilherme. How are you, man? Ufologist is here. He'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Our good friend, Jeffrey DeRuin. How are you, man? Wes H., how are you? Grand Paul Holland, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Kevin. John Swan, how are you guys? Thank you for joining us. We continue on with roll call tonight. And there's James Smith and Nightmare. Thanks for joining us. Larry A., the gorgeous Kathy Evans. Thank you for joining us. Awesome. Arlene Adkinzel, thank you for taking the time. Toe Tag, what's new? Grantavius is here. Grantavius will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right. Larry A., Michelle, Just a Friend Crafts, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much. Gorgeous Cosmic Fleur, it's always a pleasure to see you here. Thank you for taking the time. The lovely Diesel Girl. How are you, BC Girl? How are you? The Philip Blair is here, everyone. The Philip Blair. Lazarus, 405er. How are you guys? Thanks for joining us tonight. Chris Moe in Austria. We love you, man. Richard Elmore, good to see you. And there's Ian McFadden, everyone. He likes a good wave, so make sure you wave back. Pam McSee looking gorgeous tonight. There she is, everyone. The lovely and talented Nicole Sakic. Yes, she's more than just a cook. It's true. Goth White, nice to see you. Stunning Samantha Hazelwood Gray, welcome back to the show. And there's Ann B., Truth Entertainment. How are you? Doug Shelby, the lovely Jenny, nice to see you. Gorgeous Nicole Perron, welcome back. Raven is Ryan, thank you for joining us. Stunning Jeanette Sanchez has returned. Beautiful Brandy Phillips is here. She's even saying, hello, beautiful people. All right, let's continue on. $5,900. Mr. Lurks a lot. Mr. Man, Mister, how are you guys? Steve Muir, welcome back to the show. Project Blue Book. Uncle Dale and his Power Stash are here. Remember, if you're in Austin, Texas, and you see Uncle Dale, rub his Power Stash for good luck right through tax time. Mike Roberts, good to see you. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. There he is, everyone. Pen Man, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us. The gorgeous Sonia's News has returned. Digger Dog, Andrew Fricker, how are you? And Anonymous Rex, Apollo 11, good to see you guys. Gorgeous Michelle C. in Australia, good to have you here. Sun Saver, Middle Child, thanks for coming on in as we continue on with roll call. Will we make it? Will we make it? J.G. Hartwell, welcome to the channel. And who else we got? Bears Eat Beats, welcome to Spaced Out Radio's chat room. Lovely Lynn LeBlanc, Nose on Scent, thanks for joining us. And hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Chris Miller, good to see you. And Mark Ellens, thanks for joining us. Raz Summers, welcome to our channel. Thank you so much. And Bigfoot Michigan Rob, always a pleasure to see you, buddy. Thanks for texting me earlier. Hi, Sparkles, how are you? And oh my goodness, we may run out of time, but that's okay. Boom! Gorgeous Bama, good to see you. We made it. Rich Hilke's here, everyone. The Rich Hilke. Yes, a good way to support this show is through the super chat. If you're new to our channel, like a few of the chatters are, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We are here for you 7 days a week, and we really appreciate the love that you guys all give us. And we're going to go live here in about 5 seconds. Ella LeBain is our guest. It's time. Raise your horns. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reaching out to Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. All right, we got a good one for you tonight. Ella LeBain is here to talk about what's going on in the cosmos. Yep, UFOs, aliens, paranormal. We're hitting all the woo factor tonight. Then in hour number 3, oh, it's a busy one. We got Mr. Swamp Dweller joining us. Duke Sullivan. Yeah, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is here to talk Sasquatch. We got Shane Hewitt going across Canada with the shift, Shirky Poo's News, and the Thought of the Dave. Ella LeBain's close encounters caused her to dig deep into what has become a 39-year journey to get to the bottom of the truth with UFOs, ETs, aliens, gods, angels, and how they all come together. Ella has been involved in UFO research, investigating alien abductions, paranormal activities while studying astronomy, astrology since 1979. Ella was orphaned at the age of 6 and 15, which left her open to experience multiple supernatural close encounters with a variety of interdimensional beings. Oh, we got to find out about this. Yes, she has written some very good books on this topic. All you got to do is Google her name, and Who's Who in the Cosmic Zoo will come on up. Ella McBain, thank you so much for joining us on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Now, as I told our listeners, and our YouTubers will be able to see this, our radio people will have to wait and check out the archive. But honestly, let's just call a spade a spade. That is gorgeous hair. Fantastic hair.
Thank you.
She's like, what am I getting into right off the bat here? Ella, let's learn a little bit about you. I mean, you've had nearly 40 years of experience, with UFOs, ET abductions, and everything. It's a life that the majority of people on this planet will not experience for themselves. Yet for you, this is a passion. This is a desire. This is something that has really forged your life into what it is today. I mean, how do you go through everyday life knowing that you're just a little bit different than the rest of society?
Well, I've had a lot of practice, I guess, because like you said, I was orphaned at a young age. So I never really felt like I fit in here. one thing led to another, and I have a strong faith in God, in the Lord. So that gets me through everything. I don't know. I wouldn't be here without it, honestly. So, and that's part of, what led me to write the books and share all the research that I uncovered about the situation here on planet Earth and what we're all facing, no matter who you are, where you come from. We're all in this together.
We are all into this together as we try and learn and figure out what is going on. Let's go back in your timeline here. What was your first paranormal / supernatural encounter?
Well, from the age of 2 is really my first memory, and that memory was kept alive through my parents. They used to tell the story over and over again, so I really never forgot it. And that was like a starting point that I used to connect to others. But when I was 2, my parents used to find me upside down in my crib with nosebleeds, and they always told the story because they always had to clean the bloody sheets, and it was like, and then I had a lot of earaches and migraines, and so those were physical problems that they kind of leave a mark in your memory. You just don't forget it. Of course, as a young child, I had no idea what was going on, but I do have another memory that happened at the age of 6. My mother died when I was 6 years old, and not too far before that, I felt like somebody did something to me in the middle of the night, and I had these marks on the back of my head, and they were like bumps, and I remember going to my mother. It's like I have a handful of memories of my mother, and this was one of them. And I was like, kind of weepy. And I went to my mother and I said, look at this, what's going on, and then just months later, she was taken through a kind of, back in the 60s, they called it, it was like a rare form of bone cancer. So I was left kind of open and vulnerable. And then my father remarried a Jewish divorcee with 3 daughters. So I became part of a step family, and I became the youngest of their totem pole, although I was an only child from my mother and my father. And it was a kind of a typical archetypal Cinderella situation, except I had 3 stepsisters, not 2, like the fairy tale. But and the experiences just continued, and I would see the grays a lot at night. I had a terrible fear of the dark, and I would wake up in the middle of the night paralyzed, like I couldn't move, which is now I after researching this, I understand it's a common syndrome that a lot of abductees have, sleep paralysis. And I'd have to get up to go to the bathroom, and I wouldn't, because I was so scared to get out of my bed because it was dark, and I was seeing these figures, these short gray beings, and I had no idea what that was about. So I was terrified, as any child would be. And there was nobody there to explain it to me, or, and then as I got older, like they continued to show up, and I would see them shapeshift in my dream and turn into my step family. Okay. And one of my stepsisters tried to murder me by drowning me in the backyard pool. So I
Oh,
ran
that's
away. Yeah. So that was age 13. I basically lived with them for 7 years, from like 7.5 to 15. And then they sent me to Israel to get educated. So I lived in the desert in the Negev of Israel in a place called Sde Boker. And it was kind of an experiment. It was started by David Ben Gurion, who was buried there. And we were really in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there was nothing. It was just plain, especially in the 70s. And I used to see spaceships coming and going, and I used to see them in the night sky, and also in broad daylight. In Israel, they would have these sandstorms, and it would be like bluebird sky, not a cloud in the sky, and then all of a sudden, everything would just, you couldn't see. There was no, because it was like a sandstorm, and it would just start from nowhere. And I realized, as later, that they weren't all weather related, that there were ships coming and going in the Negev desert. And as they were landing or taking off, or they would kick up a lot of dust. And that's why some of the sandstorms were localized. They weren't like systemic, or, they didn't wave over all of Israel. They were just like in the desert as far as they went out. So, these were types of experiences that kind of, stuck with me, and I questioned. And of course, I had to learn the Bible and learn about God and all this and the religion. And I was the kind of child that always asked why. If somebody took the time to give me an explanation, I was okay with that. Then I moved forward. I was at peace because then I had understanding. And so I had a lot of questions, I had a lot of whys. And one thing led to another. I graduated and I ended up going to South Africa. And because I had a boyfriend that was in the school with me, and then he took me back to South Africa, and I had all these experiences there as well. So I guess it started, and it's like, first of all, I'm Jewish. Okay. So Jews are not supposed to believe in Jesus. Okay. In fact, that's one of the things they teach you. But he just kept showing up. Okay. So right before I left for South Africa, he showed up, and there I was in the desert. And I mean, it was broad daylight. And I mean, it was like a vision, but it was real, and I wasn't asleep. And he just came. I was reading a book, laying in the sun, because we were waiting for the visas to come, which took like a month. And the principal of the school had asked us to help clean out her office. And she had this book that used to belong to David Ben Gurion. She didn't want it, so she gave it to me. So I started reading it. So it was it was called The Late Great Planet Earth. And I'm like, I'm going through this, and I'm in awe, because I had just gone through all this, the curriculum there, which was the Old Testament and the prophets, and what they were all saying, and I just had to matriculate and get these exams, and I don't know, my head was spinning, and I was kind of one of those students that would just cram the night before just to get through the test. And it was all, to me, my journey is about understanding. I wanted to understand it. I wanted to kind of connect it all. And when I started having these encounters with who I believe was who people today call Jesus, but he wasn't actually called Jesus back when he walked the earth. His name was Yeshua. So, when I first saw him, after I'm reading this book, and he just shows up and he says, "I'm the Messiah, follow me," I just assumed he was Jesus. Okay. So I told my boyfriend about it, and he was like, "Oh, okay, this and that." Okay, fine. We get the visa. We go to South Africa. And then all this other stuff started happening. So South Africa is just, this was right before the end of apartheid. And I mean, there were all kinds of, it was like a battle over me because I was being pulled in like two different directions there. And long story short, I ended up becoming a missionary, and helping. I just wanted to help, I was just out of high school, and I was laying in the sun again. Always happens in the sun. And I fell asleep, I got tranquilized by the sun, and I hear this voice audible, and I'm in the middle of a field, and right next to me it was in Zululand, in a place called Kwasiza Bantu, and I'm lying in the middle of this field, and right next to the field are all these sugar cane. They're growing sugar cane. It was really quiet. There was nobody around. The place I was staying was, maybe a half a mile, and I hear this audible voice, call my name, and wake me up. And I was sleeping on the blanket, and I wake up, and I see this swarm of bees, okay, coming in my direction. And I'm like, oh, and I just like ran off the blanket, and they literally they were coming in my direction, and they literally went right over my blanket. And I got up and ran to the side. So I was fine. They didn't touch me. But I believe that voice was an angel that came to save me. So, and it was audible. And I was hearing audible voices for a long time. So, and then I saw Yeshua again, and oh my goodness, there's just, I mean, I don't want to, I can go on. There's so many things that happened there. I got involved, with one of my first jobs was selling stoneware, and so I was in charge of a small group of salespeople, and another woman, a white woman, and then an Indian, and then a mulatto kind of, and we had a great time. We were working together. And then the police came because this was pre-apartheid. They wouldn't, and we camped out overnight because we were going, and they wouldn't let us do that together because they considered them colored. So they took the two men, and put them in jail, okay, and made us stay by ourselves. And, I was seeing these shadow beings kind of all around the tent that night, and it was a very uncomfortable feeling. And so that's another experience. Am I rambling on? Do I?
I think you're doing fine. I think you're captivating the audience right now.
Okay.
I will ask you, I
Yeah.
mean, considering this seemed to be happening so fast, where you're moving towards all of this religious deities, whether it's Jesus, whether it's God or whatever, trying to find your own path, combined with anything that's happening paranormal or supernaturally. I mean, how did you combine the two? Because they're supposed to be on two totally different ends of the spectrum.
Well, so they say, and that's what my research has been about, which kind of like, I'm going to skip forward a few decades, and then was 1995. Well, in the 90s. Okay. So I had this radio show because I was really interested in all of this, and also meeting people who had similar experiences to me, and that I wasn't alone. So I did this radio show in Bradenton, Florida, and it was called Your Astro-Logical Connection. And I connected, the astronomy and the astrology, and we talked about alien abductions. And I made a kind of point about the milk carton kids, because back in those days, when children were missing, they put their photos on the back of milk cartons, And that I kind of grew up with that here, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s. Now they're on Walmart, bulletin boards. And I question that, like, how could there be so many children missing? I mean, the world is like full of perverts. It can't be all that. So I started researching and saw that, that there were like abductions, that kids were taken and they weren't brought back, and they weren't found dead or alive. And I questioned that. So I talked about that on the radio, and they literally came in and pulled the plug on me while in the middle of a broadcast. Okay. And then one of the producers, I had to go and deliver a package to him. He was moonlighting in a alternative lifestyles establishment. That's what it was called back then. And I didn't care. I just went in to go deliver my package, and they found out who I was, and I got beaten up. Okay. So I pulled away, and I took me years to kind of heal the damage that they did to me. So I kind of pulled away from all of that. And I thought, okay, well, I need to heal. And that's, I was still searching for, believe it or not, I was still searching for God, because even though I had these experiences and I did believe in God, I really didn't have all the answers. And I was very sort of confused. And then it wasn't until 1995, I was living in Florida. This is all happening in Florida. I lived on the beach, in Indian Rocks Beach. And it was in April of 95. And I used to go and watch the sunsets every night, because, it's the West Coast, and the sun, sets over the Gulf of Mexico. And it was kind of like a nightly ritual. And the sun had gone down. It was no clouds in the sky, beautiful. All the stars came out. It was very warm and balmy. And people, like my neighbors, we all used to just hang out on the beach for an hour or two after sunset. And then I hear all this swooshing sound. Okay. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I thought it was a whale. And it was like, because, I see there's dolphins that come and go back and forth all the time there. That's like common. But this was huge. And I thought, oh my God, it must be a whale. And I'm hearing all this swooshing sound. And it was probably about like 100 feet off of the shore, maybe 100 yards. I don't know. I'm not good with that, because it's the ocean, but it was really close. And it was a silver disc shaped ship that was the size of a football field. Okay. It was huge. And it lifted up out of the Gulf of Mexico right before my eyes. And that's so I see all the foam and the swooshing and the water. And it just kind of like hovered over the water for maybe like 10, 20, 15 seconds, and like got rid of the foam, and it just like shot up into the sky like in a New York second. It went so fast. And I watched it like become a star. Okay. Like it just blended in with the stars, and then it just kind of disappeared into what looked like a portal. It just like disappeared. Well, that was my big paradigm shift. I was, gobsmacked. I was in awe. I had no idea. And then I learned later that 350 other people along the beach all saw the same thing, because they called MUFON, the local MUFON in Florida. So I wasn't alone. I wasn't hallucinating. I wasn't seeing things. This really did happen. And it just left me like, and that's what started me down that rabbit hole, and to become a researcher. That's when I started piecing things together. Yeah.
I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to go to break here. Ella LeBain. Oh my God, her energy is infectious as we start to talk some UFOs with Ella and her alien experiences when we return for the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio next. All right, we're clear. We're good. I see a lot of new faces in our chat room tonight. I want to say thank you for coming on in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We're here 7 days a week. I'm here Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Lynn Wallington, our weekend host, is here Saturdays and Sundays starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then we have the after hours show after that with Big Willie, Gemma Jade, and John Hudson. I want to just tell all new people here, because I see a lot of new faces, that we aren't a podcast or just a YouTube channel, so to speak. We do take commercial breaks. You get to hear us. But the big thing is, for our radio stations and affiliates that carry this show, they got to go to commercial breaks. So we have to time everything out. So that's kind of what you're seeing right now, is us timing everything out. We just had a bunch of people come on in. Wolfman, how you doing? Eric with a K, yes. Rest in peace, Clifford Mahooty, who passed away today. What a legend he was with the Hopi people. Brooke Armstrong, welcome to our channel. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. Tic Tac UFO, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us. And who else joined us here? John Mellon and Dave Rice. Welcome, guys. I think I've said hello to everybody right now. Obi Flett, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us. Banner Smith, Mennonite Abe, thank you for joining us. Yes, Colonel Dave Scott, 11 Herbs and Spices. They're bugging me about looking like Colonel Sanders the last couple of nights, because I didn't know that they were actually KFC fire logs sprinkled with 11 herbs and spices. And I really want one of those now. Enzo, how are you? Sweet Tony D in the UK. Good to have you here, man. So that's my life. That's what we're doing. KFC fire logs. I cannot wait to try one of those. You having fun yet, Ella?
Oh, great. I love your show. You have wonderful, passionate energy.
Oh, thank you. It's in the hair.
You're funny.
Heavy Water Tread, welcome to SOR. Nick, good to see you. Let's see here. No, I'm not going to wear a white suit, Mike Roberts. Stop that. Stop that immediately. JB, welcome. Rono, welcome. We've got about 2.5 minutes. Oh, just so everybody knows, I was supposed to be speaking at UFOCon, me and Lynn Wallington, in February. The dates have been changed to the final weekend of March. They've had to delay the conference, UFOCon 2022, by 1 month. So it will be, I believe, March. Let me just check on the schedule here. It will be March 25th, 26th, and 27th. And we would appreciate anybody who wants to go. Come join us. Come say hi to Lynn, myself, and whoever else may be there. And hello, gorgeous and talented Kira. Welcome. And let's see here. What else we got? We got about 90 seconds here. Also want to remind everybody that the first annual SOR Vegas party, April 22nd and 24th. Eric with a K is going to be there, and he's going to wear a T-shirt of his third favorite show. We're number 3, people. We are number 3. No, I'm teasing. We're number 1 in Eric's books, for Canada at least. And we got so many more people. I think there's about 20, 21 people now coming that have confirmed. And the first 50 that say they're going to come, we are going to give you a swag bag. Cool stuff. Yes, so that's what we are going to do. Derek Cook, welcome to the show. Yeah, in Grand Tavius, that's the one in San Francisco. And then in July, MUFON Symposium, July 8th through 10th, I will be speaking. Ella LeBain is going to be there as well. So it's going to look real good. Right, Ella? Right?
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. in the newly renovated Sheraton on the
Yes.
16th Street Mall. It's going to be good.
Perfect. Hi, gorgeous Lynn Soes. How are you? Welcome back. Sovereign, how are you? And big thank you to Sapphire, Apollo, and Grantavius for the super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show. Here we go with the second half hour, everyone. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, we got our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Reach out to Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Ella LeBain. You can find all of her books online. It's a great series called Who's Who in the Cosmic Zoo. And right now we're talking ET contact, aliens, UFOs. Ella, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Dave. It's a pleasure.
I would like to... Oh, sorry, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I have a habit of doing that.
No
Total
problem.
habit. All right. I want to ask you about aliens, extraterrestrials. When you have contact, and you've had contact your whole life, has it been with one specific group, or has it been with numerous groups?
Well, that's a really good question. And it's been numerous. And that's what kind of led me down this path of research and to share what I found in my book series. And in a nutshell, what I learned was that just like us humans, us Earth humans, they are in conflict with each other. And there's an ancient alien war that has been taking place over us humans, Earth humans, and also over our planet. And that's evidenced in our history, in our known history, as well as the hidden history. And what I uncovered in the Hebrew Bible was that it's hidden in a lot of the Hebrew words that got mistranslated and mistransliterated into English. So if you're just looking at the English, you really don't catch it all. Okay. And that's when I had another aha experience, because the extraterrestrials are in the Old Testament. In fact, you can think whatever you want about the Bible, the Old Testament. It is historical accounts of contact with extraterrestrials. So for that, in and of itself, it needs to be looked at. Also, spaceships, they're there too. And I uncover that and point out which scriptures and what the words mean. And so in a nutshell, they're coming and they're going, and there's conflict. There's conflict between them, battles, competition over us, who gets to rule us, who gets to control us. And this is our collective struggle as humans living on planet Earth. So I also like to distinguish between Earth humans and non-Earth humans, because there are humans on other planets and in other star systems. And there's also humans that live underground inside the Earth. So I just wanted to, and I make that distinction in my first book, because because the ones that are living underground, when people have contact with them, immediately they think, oh, they're visiting, or they've just come here from a distant star, and they've been here all along. They're living, coexisting with us on this planet.
I don't recall where aliens are mentioned in the Bible. Could you fill me in on that?
Okay. Well, okay. So first, to be in a literary sense, okay? So this is where I start in book 1, is what is an alien versus what is an extraterrestrial. So when you say alien, my definition of an alien is a non-human entity, okay? That would be alien to us. However, people call, human extraterrestrials alien because they're alien in the sense just, but they also, like, I'm married to a Brit, okay? And he's from England. We just, have the big pond between us. They call him an alien too. Maybe he looks a little alien, he's got a little pointy ears, a little bald head and all that, but he's as human as we all are. Okay. So technically speaking, he's not alien. The human ETs are not alien. They're extraterrestrial. The aliens are the non-humans. Non-human intelligence is aliens, which would include the grays, the lizards, the reptilians, the little blue amphibious-looking men, the insectoids, the clones, the robots, the trans hybrid, alien, insectoid, robotic type beings. They would all go into the category of alien. Then there's extraterrestrials that are aliens, and then there's extraterrestrials that are human, just like us. But they're not Earth humans, they're off-world humans, but they're still human. Okay, so it's not fair to call them alien because they don't qualify by the literal definition. But because of the way our language has evolved and changed and become watered down and distorted through pop culture, people call them aliens. So I just wanted to make that distinction, just because we're trying to figure this out. So we all have to kind of be on the same page with language. And that's what I was saying earlier, how so much has gotten lost in translation. So the aliens, the extraterrestrials, the extra-dimensionals, which are human that are not in our dimension, but they come and go in between dimension. They're interdimensional, extra-dimensional, that are human. They are most certainly in the Bible, in the Old Testament, and even in the New Testament. I mean, Jesus, he walked through walls. He just showed up and then he disappeared. I mean, that would qualify him as an extra-dimensional, but he himself actually said he was an extraterrestrial by the very English definition of the word extraterrestrial, which means someone who is off planet. And he said, I am not of this world. And he also said, my kingdom is not of this world. That's as extraterrestrial as you can get. So some people say, oh, Jesus was an alien. No, not really, because he was human. He was a demigod. He was half human and half divine. Just like all the other there were a lot of other demigods that came before him in our mythology. But there was something about him that sort of superseded the rest of them, because he was resurrected. Because I'm not the only one that has seen him, and I have seen him 6 times in my lifetime. Okay, which means he's alive. He's still alive, and that's the faith of every Christian on this planet who is going to put their faith in Jesus or Yeshua Emmanuel or whatever, people call him in different countries, because he overcame death. He rose from the death. Very similar to kind of like a Herculean myth, where he went down into hell, saved the people, brought them up, sacrificed himself in order to save others. And this is a general thing that goes way back. And I have a chapter in my second book, Who is God, about this. There's 17 other gods that were all venerated on December 25th that all had very similar stories, not exact, but similar. So I ask my readers to question and do their own research, of course. What makes him different than the rest? And I want people to find the answer themselves, even though I kind of lead them in there, is that, and also it could have even been the same being coming into the timeline on these different eras,
Okay. I want to ask you this. Are extraterrestrials or any type of alien being then God-fearing?
That's a great question. Yes and no. Some of them are, and the ones who are, well, in fact, all of them are to a certain extent, because they know that the God of gods who created them has the power to destroy them. So they have some sense of fear of the power of God. But then there are those who are on the side of the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of God, and they serve, okay? And they serve the greater whole. And they weren't, you see, because we're going back to the story, which is written it's very clear in the books of Enoch and other rejected Jewish texts that got kicked out of the Bible canon, about who these beings were, where they came from, and which side they stood on. And a portion of them were in rebellion against the Creator, okay? But the Creator, in his love and grace and tolerance and patience, didn't destroy them. Like, you wonder, why didn't he destroy them? Why didn't he get rid of Satan, which in Hebrew means adversary, rebel? Okay, but and in my books, I make it plural, because there's not just one Satan. There's a bunch of them. So these beings got kicked out of heaven. They kind of got demoted. They had all this power, and it says that they lost their first estate, and they were downgraded. And I believe that a lot of them ended up in reptilian bodies. Okay, and that's like a whole nother thing, how that happened, and why they're inside the earth, and that's why they have the ability to shapeshift, because they know what it was like when they were these super beings, and they were beautiful and musical and powerful and supernatural. But God, in his wisdom, grace, mercy, whatever, and we can't understand, who knows the mind of God, why he didn't destroy them when they caused so much trouble, why he let them continue on. But this is all part of the ancient alien war, okay? Right. So some of them, in answer to your question, yes, some of them fear the Lord, and some of them, the ones who are in rebellion, they think they have a chance, and they end up. The scripture says that in the end, every knee bows, every tongue confesses that he is the Lord, because when he returns, that's when everything gets leveled out. And this is, like, I know this is kind of out there, but you did call this the woo woo hour, but
you woo away.
Yeah,
you're allowed to woo as much as you want.
Is that, and this is what I found in all my research. I did in 1995 had the honor and the privilege to meet and work with and interview and then study under Zecharia Sitchin. And I learned so much from him, because he was also, he had the similar background, in Israel. He understood he spoke 5 languages. I just had 2, Hebrew and English. But he showed me a lot of where this is in the Bible. Okay. And I honor him in my 5th book, The Heavens. And if it wasn't for him, nobody's perfect. Everybody makes contributions. I mean, there's a lot of criticism. Maybe it's because of jealousy of him, but he wrote 12 books called the Earth Chronicles, which was the translation of the Sumerian tablets. So this is our history, okay? And it was written in stone. And then, that became the Jews. The Jewish people ended up inheriting all of that from the ancient Mesopotamian, Sumerian, Egyptian, Akkadian, and they were the keepers of knowledge. So they had all these scrolls and all this information from the past that by the time we got down to when Jesus walked the earth and the Romans were ruling, then they wanted to basically put everybody's put all of this knowledge, take it away. Basically, they controlled it. There's about 70 books that were not included in the Bible canon that we have today. That if only people had that in the Bible canon, there wouldn't be as many. There wouldn't be as much confusion. There wouldn't be. People would have understanding of the past, but they took that away from us. And that's all part of the battle. That's all part of the war. So in a nutshell, what I found was that he is connected to this planet Nibiru. And that's what, if it wasn't for Sitchin, Zachariah Sitchin, nobody would be using the word Nibiru. That was his translation from the cuneiform tablets. It has many names. Just like God has many names, people call it Planet X now, or, Hercobulus. I connected the dots in my 5th book that it's the TRAPPIST-1 system that the astronomers disclosed in 2017, and they named it after their telescope in Chile, TRAPPIST-1. I mean, it's the same system. The brown dwarf star, 7 Earth-sized planets, 1 is a rogue, and it's elongated and it's tilted and it's, really whacked out, and that's Nibiru. So this comes around, cyclically, and it changes our history. And I was told that Yeshua is returning with Nibiru. Okay. So I find it really hard to separate the two, and returning means coming back because he's already been here. And when that happens, everything's going to get resolved, leveled out, and that's the end. It's the end of all these wars. And it's like the final battle. And, they make movies about all this and like Armageddon type stuff, but it's written down. It's hard not to look at this and watch what's happening to the planet right now. And that's the big thing, is the signs in the heavens and the earth changes. And, we had this huge volcanic eruption the other day in Tonga that, shook the planet, was even felt here in Colorado. Our seismologists here, detected it, and we all had headaches. There was some kind of wave that went over us. So I don't think there's anybody that you can find here on this planet that says that they're not affected by the climate change and the earth changes. We're in the middle of a pole shift. And why is this all happening now? Okay. And that's the $1 million question, is because this was written down in the prophecies that this was going to happen, that would precede the return of the Lord, and that all this stuff was going to get settled. Okay. Because there's a lot of unfinished business.
Okay, I want to ask you, because there's a lot to be said in there, and this is one of those conversations. If we had more time, we could get into a very good discussion about this, because there's a lot I agree with what you said. There's a lot I disagree with what you said, and that's okay. The beautiful part about this show is, we are allowed to agree to disagree without a lot of conjecture, shall we say. But I want to ask you, in regards to the extraterrestrials that are out there right now, whether they're God-fearing or not, as we got about 4 minutes to go here before we go to break at the top of the hour, these ETs that are coming here and investigating this planet, investigating what we're all about, why are they taking us? What is the purpose?
Okay, well, there's groupings. So the Greys are the main abductors of us humans. And the reason that they're abducting us is to create a hybrid race. They are extracting sperm from men and extracting ovum from women. They're also using women as incubators and to gestate these hybrids that they basically put together in a test, like a test tube baby. And so it's our DNA spliced with their DNA to create like a human alien hybrid race that is spacefaring. Okay, so let's face it, us humans, we have astronauts that go into space, but we have many limitations. And it's dangerous for humans to spend too much time, on Mars and doing all this stuff without all of the equipment. And that's a piece of it. I'm not saying that's the whole enchilada, but that is a very big piece of it. The other piece is that they're creating this hybrid race to take over, okay, to basically replace us. Okay, it is the ultimate replacement theology. Okay, so if you're familiar with the term replacement theology, it has always been used to replace the Jews with Christianity. So you see where I come from, that's why I'm a little skeptical. I always have been, because of the religious spirit that turns me off in Christianity, and also the anti-Semitism. I mean, there's a lot of Christians that don't like Jews. Okay. But I guess, I'm messianic because I know that I've seen Jesus. I've heard his voice. I've seen him. I can't forget that. I don't believe him because somebody told me to. I was kind of rebellious against all the religions, including my own, because it was too controlling. I'm into freedom and love and spirituality. And so, Yeshua is all about that. He's coming back. He's got his foot in each camp. He's got his foot over the Jews. He's got his foot over the Gentiles, and his hand on the extraterrestrials. And because this is an extraterrestrial war over humans and over Earth, he's going to, according to his prophecies, according to his own words, come back and resolve it all. Okay. And
so with 1 minute to go here, sorry, I want to get this in. What about the other races, whether it's the mantids, the humanoid type beings, the draconians, the reptilians, the other races out there?
Well, the reptilians, okay, they're here. They're here they have been living with us. They coexist with us on planet Earth. They just live underground. They live inside the Earth. Okay. And they come up, they send the Greys to do their, the Greys are like their servants. They follow orders. The mantids, it's kind of a mixed bag, because some of them are mixed, the hybrids with the insectoid, and there's reptilian and insectoid together. And the reptilians and the insectoids, they fight against each other. Okay.
I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to continue this conversation when we return. 1 hour down, 2 hours to go on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Ella LeBain, author. You can find all her books online. I love the titles. I do. They're fantastic. The Who's Who of the Cosmos. Check it on out. It's a good time. Ella LeBain continues with us on Spaced Out Radio when we return. Who's Who of the Cosmic Soup.
I'm just going to step away for a minute.
You go, girl.
Thanks, Dave.
No problem. Hi, everyone. I'm Dave. I host a radio show. Who's Who of the Cosmic Zoo. That's a good name. Creative. Hey, Super Enzo. What's happening? Hi, Vanner Smith. Dad. Hello, Kristen Blackburn. How are you? Your hair is looking fantastic tonight, by the way. Love that color. Who made who? My son was playing Back in Black tonight in his guitar lessons. That was kind of cool. Ross Smith, good to see you. What has Clam got for us tonight? Thanks, Clam. Getting us all ready. Excuse me. Oh, sorry about that. Brazelhoff, what's happening? The gorgeous Avi May, thanks for joining us. Just want to put out a quick reminder that if you were planning on attending UFOCon 2022 in February, it's been delayed until the last weekend of March, the 25th through the 27th. And it'll still be in San Francisco. I will be there. I believe Lynn Wallington will be there as well. And then, of course, Vegas in April for all our Spaced Out Radio fans. If you want to come, we'd love to have you. Jilly's Jewels, welcome to Spaced Out Radio's chat room. Thank you for joining us. Right, we've got about 90 seconds, just over. No, 2 minutes. I'm sorry, 2 minutes. Two-minute warning. Hey, Thomas Fessler, I sent you a message on DM on Facebook. Ella, you having fun?
Yes, it's great. Thank
Wonderful.
you so much for having me. This is great.
No problem. I'm enjoying it too. So thank you.
You ask really good questions.
Well, I try my best. I do my best. Magnus Zerum, welcome back. Uncle Dale in his power stash just got his Spaced Out Radio hat. I want a picture, Uncle Dale. I want a picture. You can do shopping at our store, spacedoutradio.com/shop. Just go to our website. We got some cool stuff there. A couple of Merle shirts, some UFO shirts, other types of shirts, tank tops. Kira wanted tank tops and still hasn't got one. Kira. I'm teasing, Kira. I'm teasing. Oh, hey, Clam. How are you? And we've got about 40 seconds. Thank you so much to Lynn Soes, Thomas Fessler, Sapphire, Apollo, and Grant Tavius for the amazing super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. To support us. It's kind of cool. Thank you so much. Here we go with hour 2, everyone. Let's do it.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Zamponia. Zamponia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Ella LeBain is here tonight. She is Who's Who in the Cosmic Woo. I love that title, Ella. All of her books can be found online, any major bookstores. And we're going to check it on out. We're talking aliens right now with Ella. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks, Dave. And you?
Good. I'm having fun tonight. Right before the break, we were talking about different alien species, who's working with who. How are you able to find all of this out?
Well, I've been researching this since the early 90s. So I was in touch with some whistleblowers back in the late 80s and the early 90s, which is all published in my first book. I have a 35-page bibliography, which gives references. I have a background as a paralegal, so I kind of use those skills to uncover the truth through facts. So obviously, as you say, some of this is in the woo-woo realm, and that has to be taken with, used to corroborate with other stories like it. And I love it when it corroborates. Like if I find something and then I find another person who has said the same or written something similar or confirmed it and they don't know each other, that's a corroboration, which is how we prove the truth in court. So I've sort of taken those skills. I'm retired for 25 years. I don't work for law firms anymore, but I took those skills and applied them to this material. And I would say I didn't want to leave anybody out. I have government whistleblowers. I also have experiencers, and even channeled material. I've combined all of it because it helps for understanding and it helps to corroborate the truth. So I encourage you to go look at my first book. Sometimes people look at the bibliography first before they even read the first page because they want to see where I'm getting that information from, like you asked. And that's a good question because, back in when I first started putting this together, and I told you earlier when I got beaten up and all that stuff, I kind of backed off for a while because back in the early 90s, it's not like it is today where now everybody, we're in disclosure now. And now this information is looked for, whereas back then it was covered up so much and it was dangerous sometimes. So I backed off and I started a family and I made sure that my daughter grew up normal without any of the, the mockery that comes from, your mother's writing about aliens or, she's had all these experiences. And now, the past 2 years, everything has changed there, which I'm very grateful for, that I'm living to see this. It's an amazing time to be alive, to feel vindicated, especially after what I went through, in the early 90s. But I have a ton of references. All of my books have very lengthy bibliographies. So I encourage everyone to do their own research, corroborate, you see something I say and it creates cognitive dissonance in you, go research it. Because sometimes cognitive dissonance is the aha moment. That's the key that gets people to go and search, and it creates it's part of their journey. So, I'm just sharing what I have found. I mean, I don't have the whole enchilada. Nobody does. We all have pieces of it. And when we all come together, you see the whole tapestry. But the first book is pretty much an A to Z compendium on who the aliens and the extraterrestrials are, based on everything I just said, plus our history. And I'm a big fan of history because, all the sayings, history repeats itself because we don't learn the lessons that it taught us and how we need to review things, and things will just keep coming until we get it. So, yeah.
I got some questions from our audience members here. Nicola is wondering, Ella, do you consider the extraterrestrials good, bad, or both?
Both. This is evidenced by the fact that there's a war going on. We war not against the flesh and blood, but against the powers, principalities, rulers of the darkness of this present world, and spiritual wickedness in the heavens. And that's the scripture. And what is the spiritual wickedness in the heavens? Well, those are the aliens that are fighting over this realm, not only Earth, but this whole solar system. So, the truth is stranger than fiction. A lot of the sci-fi, I believe that a lot of science fiction writers, and I know them and I work with them, and it's amazing. It's just absolutely blows my mind each and every time when they write stuff and then years later it becomes fact and truth and norm. How did they know that? Well, strong intuition, research, a combination of both. Maybe they were being used to write concepts that we didn't have, like back in the 50s and the 60s, and even now, Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel. There's just so many that have very real, true concepts in them. And one thing that is common, that's like consistent, is the battle. Okay. And it's not just them battling with us. it, or us battling, it's them battling each other over us and over this planet and over the solar system. Okay, because it's not just on Earth. We're seeing things on the moon and Mars, and I'm sure you've seen those pictures on Saturn. And there's life in this solar system. We're not the only ones here. So this is why my books are about discernment, so that everyone can figure out, like based on their own experiences, were they positive or were they negative? Are these beings that they have to kick out of their lives because they had such a terrible negative experience with them? They feel traumatized. They're like having to heal, like I had to do, and kick the grays out because they were like holding me hostage, and I'm now free from them. So I would say the grays are not good. Okay, the reptilians also not good. However, there's scriptures in the Bible where the Lord says, and this is in my book series, the Lord says that he's going to come and redeem all of creation. Not some, not just the humans, not just a portion, all. And it's like, well, what part of all don't people understand? And that is that the extraterrestrials were part of his plan. Like he created extraterrestrials. And that is evidenced in the Torah in the Old Testament. Extraterrestrials are in the biblical prophecy, the good ones, and they are working together with the Lord through his kingdom. So it's a clash of two kingdoms, very similar to the concepts that are put forward in Game of Thrones and a bunch of other movies and books. But we are in between, like, which kingdom are we going to end up in? Okay. And in my first book, I discern it, and I call it the reptilian draconian kingdom, and then the human vine kingdom. And so and I also, conclude that they are the ones, it's real easy for everybody to point fingers at each other here on Earth. And there's a lot of that going on, but they're the ones that actually started, and I prove this in a very big, fat, thick book, that they started racism. Okay. They are the ones, because it's evidence that when human babies grow up together in the playpen as toddlers, they're just playing. You have kids, they play. They don't know that they're not supposed to like each other or all that stuff is learned behavior. This is implants that come from the negative aliens that want to keep us divided and in war with each other. And go ahead.
I think if we don't talk a lot of racism on this show for a good reason, but
I'm not talking human racism, but extraterrestrial racism, that it began with them, because that's why they're doing all this hybridization, because they're trying to create a new race. So they've projected that onto us. And I'm not talking about the stuff that goes on with us.
You could say that about Mark Zuckerberg and his love of the book 1984 and what he's doing, in trying to create that. But oh my God, that's a whole different show title right there.
And I don't want to get into the weeds about what goes on with us. I'm just saying that it started with them. Okay, that's my conclusion. It started with the extraterrestrial races. And as above, it's a hermetic philosophy, as above, so below. And what we experience here on Earth it starts off in the heavens, in the spiritual realms. And these beings have been pulling strings here since the beginning, when humans walked the Earth. Okay, so
right.
I mean, I can give you a list of beings. I have like over 120 that are listed in my first book. And I just go in and I just research each one, and hopefully the reader can piece it together. But I mean, we're talking Draco, reptilian, gray crossbreeds that are involved, in interacting with humans and behind abductions and shape-shifting and deceiving human beings. Okay, so I have eyewitnesses to what went on in the underground, in the Dulce Underground, which is in New Mexico, which is like a building that's like upside down underground, and all these different labs and all these different hybrids and grays and reptilians and humans all working together. So, you asked earlier about mantids and the insectoids, and the reptilians are in conflict with the insectoids. It's like a competition between the two. Okay. So, and that's just between them. That's like not necessarily over us. And it's the way they see us, like we see them. And then there's a lot of people, because I remember when I first put the book together, people were like, oh, like they were so agog, like, oh, I'll do anything to meet an alien. And it's like, well, don't sell your soul, because they'll take it. Okay. And there's evidence of implantation, memories that can be implanted from one person into another person. There's a lot of stuff that goes on during abductions. There's a reason why they put people back, that they don't just take them away, because they take them, they implant them, and then they use them on Earth to do their agenda, to facilitate their, agenda. And people are so easily hypnotized and put under, it's like a spell. And then they do this hypnagogy thing, which is like one level deeper than hypnosis. So it's really deep. So the hypnotherapists have to do like all this extra stuff to extract these memories, to get them out, because they hide them, and they hide them with screen memories. So it's a multi-layered situation that is happening to all of us. And this is not just located in North America. This is happening all over the planet.
All right, let's get to another question here. Josh is wondering, do aliens enjoy or make music?
Well, the angels, in the word angel means messenger, but the extraterrestrials that work for the kingdom of heaven absolutely love music. In fact, the story tells us that Lucifer Satan, was the worship leader of heaven before he fell from grace. That is evidenced in the Jewish scriptures. So music is a very big deal. The symphony of the solar system, everything has a resonance and a tone. And I think Close Encounters of the Third Kind kind of revealed that they were communicating with this group of aliens through tone, through music. So it's a universal language. I would say yes.
All right, let's move on. Another question from Kaiju. Ella, do you believe ETs are evolved forms of humans from the future?
Maybe they could be. I'm sure that's a possibility. But for the most part, they are who they are without us. They're extraterrestrials, whether we're here or not. They exist. So they're past, present, and future. Some of these beings are outside of time. We have a timeline. So Albert Einstein said time is there so that everything doesn't happen all at once. So, but there are beings that are outside of time, and that's how they're able to manipulate time and come and go. So,
but time really doesn't exist. Humans are the only ones who use time. time means nothing to anything else, whether it's a dog, a cat, an animal outside in the wild, or up in space.
That's right. And I like to use this scripture in the Bible that reveals that God himself is a time traveler, evidenced by the very words that says 1,000 years is like a day unto the Lord, and a day is like 1,000 years. And I think that's very symbolic, especially if you're going to use the cycles of Nibiru, okay, which they say is 3,600 years, or between 3 and 3,000, 30, whatever, give or take. And maybe that's like 3 days to God, and it's like 3,500 years to us. So, there's some kind of repetitive thing with the number 3, 3 days, 3 days of darkness, 3 days, to be resurrected, 3 days to come back. And maybe these aren't Earth days, but Nibiru days, which is 3,000 years in Earth time. So we're not educated to think in these terms all the time, but I believe the Lord is a time traveler. So he lives outside of time, and he's not alone, because he's got, when the fall happened, it said 1/3 of heaven's angels rebelled. So 2/3 didn't. So 2/3 are still with him, and that's these celestial armies. One thing, Dave, I uncovered, which kind of blew my mind, was in Hebrew, there's many names for the Lord, but one of them is Adonai Tzibaot, which means the Lord of celestial armies. Okay, well, that woke me up. Like, he's not just Lord of the earth, celestial armies. Okay, I mean, that's you can just like think about that for a while. So there's a lot of good ETs that are on his side, not rebelling, and they want to, they're here to help us, they're here to support us, they're here to guide us, they're here to help us get through all this so that, we can inherit heaven, the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven is vast. It's not just one place, it's many places. It could be like, multiple planets. There could, who knows? I mean, who knows the mind of God? This is when he says, when people go to heaven, they think it's just one place. It's vast.
We got 90 seconds.
Okay.
Rantavius is asking, who are the beings that shimmer while you're having sleep paralysis?
Those are the grays. And I want to say that there's 35, based on my research, which I have in my first book, 35 different species, types of grays. And I spell it Gray, as gray the species, as opposed to Grey, gray the color, because not all grays are actually gray in color. Some of them are tan, brown, white, green, even black shiny ones. So if you're seeing these shimmery, those are the grays, and the sleep paralysis is done by them. They have a technology that they're able to do that. Kind of like the Spock mind meld when he used to do that in Star Trek. It's a type of technology, and it's not pleasant. It's something you want to get off of you, to be delivered from it. It's kind of a bondage. I was terrified as a child when it happened, and it doesn't happen to me anymore. Thank God.
I've never had it happen. I'm glad. I am glad.
Oh, well, you're lucky. You're one of the blessed ones.
Well, I hope so. Well, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We have author Ella LeBain here for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio, talking everything extraterrestrial and paranormal as we continue on with the show. And then a jam-packed hour number 3, where we'll go into the swamp. We'll talk some Bigfoot. We'll go right across Canada with the shift, Shirky Poo, thought of the Dave. Man, how are we going to fit it all in? How do we do it? Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we're clear. Fun times. Fun times. That'll be our next question for when we come back.
Okay, I guess he didn't hear the beginning of the show when I started with the abductions. And yes, I have had a near-death experience.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
talk about that when we're back on the air.
Okay, I'll be right back.
No problem.
Thanks, Dave.
He's so much fun. Yancey Scott, what's happening, man? Big bad Yancey Scott batting .320 in the cleanup position. I got to tell you, this show has gone way different than I thought it would, and I'm okay with that. Totally okay with that. Sometimes you just you think you know which direction it's going, and it goes completely opposite. Completely opposite. And I love it when that. Oh, I'm sorry, you're back.
Oh yeah, I had no idea where we were going because we never met. You and I just met tonight.
I know, no, but this is what I love about this show, because you can have a creative perspective of where you think it's going to go, and then it takes like a total polar opposite direction, and it's kind of like, wow, this is kind of cool.
Well, I think it's magical. You know, that you and I, we never met, and now we are having these deep soul conversations, and I have no idea. I had no idea where you were coming from or anything. I
could sit around. I got a big fire pit in the back of SOR headquarters here. Mm-hmm. I could sit around with you and just talk for hours in front of a fire.
Like
totally.
Yeah, ditto. I'd love to. Well, when you come to Denver, we'll hang out.
Definitely.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely. I look forward to it.
There's a lot of good restaurants right by the Sheraton. That's why they put it there, because there's all these restaurants on the 16th Street Mall. So they're kind of encouraging everybody to kind of go out.
I've never been to Colorado, so.
Oh, well, good. We'll give you a nice welcome party.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I look forward to getting down there. I want to see, because like I live at 3/4 of a mile above sea level. You guys are at a mile. I'm curious to see how the air difference is.
It's very dry here.
Same here.
Yeah. And when I go up into the mountains, like if I go, like I was in Colorado Springs, another 600 feet above where I live right now, above Denver, I felt it. So you'll feel it.
Yeah. Oh, I like living where I did near Vancouver.
Yeah.
Before moving up here, it really hit me for the first 4 weeks I moved up here.
You had to adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was coughing all the time. And I was never, as weird as this may sound, you may understand, but I never understood what pollution did to your lungs. And then when I moved up here, where it's very clean air up here, I go down to the coast to visit my parents. I immediately start hacking and wheezing again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. We're so affected by our environment.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I know the exact turn on the highway where it starts for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because you're coming into a different altitude.
Yeah. It's coming out of the mountains.
Yeah. The mountains are harsh.
Oh, yeah.
It took me a long time to get acclimated. Then I realized I was not processing B12. So then they started giving me B12 injections, and now I can go into the upper altitudes and not get sick. So that's a piece of it, because there's more oxygen in the blood. It helps the oxygen.
Yes. Yeah.
So got to drink a lot of water.
Yeah. What's the weather like up here? We're getting colder again after thawing out.
Well, it's still January.
Yeah. So it'll be down to minus 11 Celsius tonight, which will be 20 Fahrenheit. Tomorrow, snow in the forecast, snow Thursday, snow Friday, and then we're back into a nice weekend with warmer temperatures. Thank you to Lynn Soes, Thomas Sapphire, Apollo, and Grantavius for the super chats. It's a wonderful way to support this show. Here we go. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. I appreciate each and every one of you tuning us in from SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, reminding you by saying that all of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com if you've missed portions of this show or others, /Spaced Out Radio. Just hit the subscribe button. We'd appreciate that. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the final time tonight. Ella LeBain is here. She's an author. You can find all of her books, and I love the titles. Who's Who in the Cosmic Zoo? She's got a bunch of books under that title, and then different subtitles. I love it. Too many to name, too good to read. The covers are amazing, by the way. This would be a good collection to add to your library for sure. Ella, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave.
We're going to start off with a question from my good friend Eugene out of Philadelphia, who is asking, have you ever been abducted or had a near-death experience?
Yes to both. I shared my abduction experiences early in the show, but yes, since the age of 2. And I did have a near-death experience in February of 2010 here in Colorado. And that was life-changing.
Did you see the other side?
Yes. I had a heart attack. I blacked out. I saw both of my deceased parents, and then I saw Jesus again. And that was, he took my hand, and I walked on this emerald green field, with grass and bluebird sky, and it was just him and I. And I was writing my first book. It hadn't been published yet. And it was all about the ETs and the aliens. And he told me that I was going to be okay. He was going to put me back in my body. I was going to heal. And he wanted me to rewrite my book with him in it. So I did. And he part of my work is to, as a Jew, because I'm not coming from the Christian viewpoint all the time, because there's a lot of brainwashing that goes on. There's a lot of error that is taught because of the anti-Semitism from the Church of Rome. So he wants people to see him as he is, not through the lens of religion and religious people who have not represented him well over the centuries. So it's not easy, but I did it, and it turned into a book series. So I have the last book, which is book 6, Heaven's Gospel, coming out next year. But there's 5 books right now, and there's a plethora of information, and I just want people to get as much information as they can to help them to understand the situation, the battles, and also to get well, to get free, to get healed, to be whole, and to be part of the kingdom of heaven is coming to earth. And that's what's going to happen at the end of this timeline. And, I have a background in astronomy and astrology. I did astrology for, when I studied astronomy, and then I got into astrology, and then back and forth. And it's a dance because it's really one. So when Jesus said, I'm coming back at the end of this age, that is a processional age, the processional age of Pisces, which when the processional age of Pisces ends, the age of Aquarius begins. And yes, we're in the dawning of the age of Aquarius, and we're kind of overlapping ages right now. And we're super close to the end of this age. And when that happens, that point is when he returns, and it's like the golden age again. And the last time there was a golden age on Earth was 26,000 years ago, which was the time that Atlantis and Lemuria existed on Earth. So that was like another golden age. So we're coming into that again after all this gets resolved and settled. It's going to be rough because things have to die before they can be reborn. There's going to be a lot of destruction and cataclysm from this planetary system that's going to pass the Earth. And there's a plethora of guideposts that point to it. Again, the Old Testament prophets talked about it, the terrible day of the Lord, that he was going to turn the earth upside down. That's a pole shift. And the earth was going to sway to and fro like a drunkard. And we're seeing that happen. The earth is wobbling. It's exploding with all kinds of, volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. And there's a reason that this is happening, because of this system that is intersecting in our solar system, which is going to bring the end of this age and the beginning of the new age, and everything is going to be wonderful after that. So something to look forward to.
Let's move on to another question. Larry is here asking, when you saw Jesus on Earth, did you see him? Sorry, when you saw Jesus, did you see him on Earth, or was it someplace else?
Both. The first time I shared this at the beginning of the broadcast was in Israel, in the Negev desert. And it was broad daylight. I was wide awake. The sun was shining. And it couldn't have been more grounded as that. And then, of course, in the near-death experience, I don't think that was Earth, but it looked like Earth, but it was probably the astral plane or somewhere in between. I don't know.
Kaiju wants to know, what do you think of creatures like Bigfoot?
Well, they're real. They exist, and they're part of the old crossbreeds. So a Bigfoot is a type of hybrid being that that goes way back to when the giants walked the earth and they were interbreeding. I'd say he's kind of a Nephilim creature.
Apollo is wondering if you could touch on biblical prophecy, end times, Armageddon, and how it relates to extraterrestrials.
Great question. And that's exactly what's in my book series. Every book touches upon that with the scriptures and the prophecies, because that's the stuff that kind of drew me in. So the end of times is going to be a space war. Okay. And it's interesting that General MacArthur said this in the 50s, that World War III was going to be an intergalactic war. Nobody should be surprised knowing the level of technology that our nation and the other nations of the world have now, and they're competing with each other, and it's way ahead than what most people think, because they've been keeping it secret for the past 75 years. But they are getting ready for a space war. So why are all these nations, and I'll name them, I don't want to get too political, but America, China, Russia, Israel, yes, Jewish space lasers are real, and that's because they're preparing for an extraterrestrial war. They're preparing to protect their land their space, the earth itself from this alien threat. So the end time war does involve the aliens. And that
But there is no threat.
Who told you that?
I don't think, and I would put money on this. Aliens have been coming here since the beginning of time. They wouldn't wait until we advanced when they could have taken us over when the most advanced weapon was a spear or a bow and arrow or a rock. Doesn't make sense. Now, I'm not saying, now don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these woo types who thinks that all aliens are peace, love, and light. I know that for a fact on my own experiences. But I think the idea of a threat narrative is complete BS. I absolutely do.
Well, whether you agree with it or not, it is part of our history here in America. And it is the reason why, and I have this in my 5th book, the history, like the agreements that President Eisenhower signed. This is all in this documented research here to prove that after World War II, we, the Americans, as well as the Russians, became allies and got the spoils of war from the Nazis, which was alien tech. And they have been engineering alien tech spaceships since the 40s and 50s. And they've been keeping it covered up. The Cold War was a cover for a lot of that. And there's a reason why they've been doing it, because they themselves see a threat. Okay. Now, whether you believe it or not, I'm just reporting that that's how they think. And they're militaristic in nature, and they see a group of aliens as a threat to our security here. And that's the reason why they've amassed a fleet of ships that have been kept hidden for these end times. And in answer to Apollo's question, it's in the Bible prophecies.
Okay.
So I can't. I find that hard to disconnect the two, because it's a match.
What about those who believe that the Galactic Federation that is hovering somewhere just beyond the moon, out of our eyesight, has a deep plan for Mother Earth that they will not allow humanity to destroy it, and if nuclear weapons are fired off, they will come in and disarm them and take them out?
I cannot argue against that. I believe that, and I have this in my first book, who the Federation is and the alliances that are between them, and that is who they are. Yes, absolutely. They do not want us using nuclear weapons, and they have intervened and stopped stuff multiple times. There's tons of stories. There's so many stories about that. So I don't disagree with that. I think that they are definitely, and they work for the kingdom of heaven, because this is their sector. They're like regents, they want to protect. And we don't need to use nuclear weapons on each other, that's for sure. But there's evidence that it's been used in the past. The Vedic scriptures show that they had wars against each other. They were fighting each other, and they used it against each other. The Old Testament, and there's places in Israel where the Sodom and Gomorrah was, and it's evidence, archaeological, forensic evidence that there was a nuke that went off there, which is why nothing can ever grow there. It's like glass. So absolutely, because they want to prevent it from happening again, because it's happened already.
All right, let's move on here. Kaiju wants to know, which aliens are the threat to us?
Well, I would say the the reptilians and the grays, and there are beings that are aligned with them, that are working with them, that are part of the rebellion from the past. Bible calls them fallen angels or fallen sons of heaven, which are not necessarily alien, that they were like human looking. So just because they look human doesn't mean that they're good. Does anybody remember the TV series V, which aired in the you used to watch that, Dave?
Oh, I love that.
We're from the same generation, you and I. So I mean, that was profound, and that had a very important message of discernment, because you can't always trust what you see, and the reptilians do have the power to shapeshift and look human. So it's hard for humans to know who to trust.
True.
But we're not, why are they a threat? Well, it's like, why is a fox a threat to a rabbit? Okay. And there's prey and predator, and human beings, us humans, we are not the top of the food chain. Okay. And as uncomfortable as that may sound to people, there are beings that, feed off of us, and not necessarily in a like a cannibalistic way, but energy, emotions. There's emotion harvesting, memory harvesting, eggs, sperm, skin grafts. We're used, and people will try to, justify and say, oh, it's my choice. I don't think so. I don't think it's anyone's choice. I was abducted since the age of 2. It wasn't my choice. Why it happened, maybe it's generational, maybe it's, from the past, but I stopped it because I refused to be used anymore. Okay. And vampirized. And I do consider them, negative experiences. And, if a being doesn't leave you with peace, love, and joy, and those good feelings that we all crave and need as humans, and they terrorize you and terrify you and steal, kill, and try to destroy you, I'd say that qualifies as a threat.
All right, let's get to the next question. John is asking, is the moon hollow and occupied as a base by aliens?
Yes, 100%. That's been part of my abduction experiences. I was taken underground in the moon. Yes, and I'm going to be sharing that. I have a whole thing on that. You can look it up.
All right. And let's see. Newfie is asking, what do you think of the Galactic Alliance? Not Federation, the Alliance.
Okay. Is it okay to bring my book out?
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Okay. So what do I think about it? It's right here. So I'm just going to show you a real brief chart. I wrote about this. I don't know if you can see, but this is a chart that's in this first book that I pulled together in 1998. And the middle column is the Alliance. Okay, it says the Alliance. So, one side is the reptilian kingdom, the other side is the human vine, and the middle is the Alliance. And it's not the Federation. And sometimes they're called the Confederation, which I go into and talk about in this book, discerning who they really are. And basically, in a nutshell, they are combinations of both of these sides coming together to try to make peace between them, because this alien war has been going on for eons. Okay. And there are beings that have had enough of it. They don't, and they see both sides. So there's an alliance there to try to make peace, have understanding, have coexistence. So it's complex and it's multi-layered. So I'd say yes to his question. And yeah, there I have a whole chapter on them in this book. This is just the chart. So pick it up.
Pick it up, people. Pick it up. Found it on Amazon.
Yes. And my website. You can get it from me as well.
Autographed
and free shipping anywhere in the United States.
Canada always gets ripped off on that one.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I'll make exceptions for you, Dave.
Oh, you're so cute. I love your hair. We've got about 3.5 minutes to go here. Let's get one more question in. 5,900. With all the worlds to incarnate on, why do you think we chose this one?
Well, I'm not so sure we had that choice. I think a lot of people are sent here, for different reasons, missions, lessons, experiences, to be part of this grand experiment we call planet Earth and the human experience. So I don't know if we made that choice.
No?
Maybe we did. Maybe, there are some people that choose to be here and there are people that don't feel like it's their home.
I've never thought about that. That's just way beyond my woo right there. Way beyond my woo. Let me ask you this. With 2 minutes to go here, what secret would you like to come true, to come to fruition into public light? Is it aliens? Is it cryptids? Is it something else?
Wow. Oh, I have to think about that. Which secret? Well, right now, I think that disclosure of the fact that our governments have known and have interacted and have had contact, and they're actually in agreement, and they're working with several different groups of aliens and ETs. I think we can start there to uncover that, unravel that secret. I think we deserve to know. And I think the cat's out of the bag. There's no turning back. It's all going to come out. It's just layers of it. So yes.
One final question, 90 seconds from Sapphire. Are aliens more biological or technological? If they are more intelligent, should they be more individual? Why don't we see alien art, clothing, and trinkets?
Well, I'd say both. They're biological and technological. There's the hybrids, the clones that are robotic in many ways. There's the transhumanism that's going on, that they're trying to project that onto us. And how do you know we're not seeing alien art, clothing, and trinkets? How do you know that our culture, our pop culture of art and clothing and fashion and jewelry hasn't been influenced by them? We talked earlier in the show about the abductions and how most people get put back and they're implanted to propagate an alien agenda. How do you know that they weren't given the idea to, create a fashion line or an art line or jewelry? And some of the stuff we're already using in our culture may even be alien influenced.
Beautifully said. Ella LeBain, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. Very interesting. I love the way this conversation went, and it's so good to have you on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave, for having me.
Coming up next in hour 3, we're going to go into the swamp. Then we're going to talk some Bigfoot with World Bigfoot Radio. Then we're heading to Vancouver with The Shift, Shirky Poo's news, Thought of the Day, a jam-packed hour 3 next on Spaced Out Radio. All right. Great job tonight. Great job.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you
I'll
for
give
the
you a few.
opportunity.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah,
That
I
was
enjoyed talking to you. You're cool.
Thank you. Thank you. It's the handlebar mustache that
Oh,
does it.
I love it. When's your birthday?
May 24th.
Oh, okay. Gemini, we get along well.
Yes.
I'm
Mhm.
Aquarius. Mine is not in 9 days from now.
Nice.
How about that?
Well, we'll say
what-
happy birthday to you.
Thank you. What year were you born?
73.
Oh, okay. We're not too far apart.
I love your hair.
Oh, thank you.
Love that.
And I love your show, Spaced Out Radio. I love the name. It's very
Thank
cool.
you.
Really cool. You're a pro. I'm watching you in action. You're doing got it
Way
all.
too-
That's the Gemini. You're multitasking all over the place. That's so cool.
I know.
You're a
Way
talent.
too much. Thank you. I'm looking forward to meeting you in
Same
just
here.
a few months down in MUFON Symposium in Colorado. So thank you, Ella.
Yeah,
I got to
well,
run. I got to get the
okay.
news and everything ready. But I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave. God bless. You have a good night. I just
We'll
hit
talk soon.
the little
Yeah.
leave studio. Okay.
Yep.
He's-
Good night. I liked her. She was fun. Lots of fun. I like fun. Dave is a fun kind of guy. I didn't agree with everything she said, but that's okay. We're still allowed to have a good conversation about that. We are. That's the beauty of it. And what is this here? Here. Boom. Just like that. Love it. That was fun. Glad you enjoyed her as well. Different take on the whole ET phenomena thing. Different take. Yeah, I'd like to have her back. Apollo, not enough time. Not enough time. Rocket Niner. Another 73 vintage right there. It's good stuff right there. And what are we doing here? I feel lost all of a sudden. Like, what the Sam hell am I doing? That's okay though. Hey, Doug Stevenson. How you doing, buddy? You having a good night? You lie down, buddy. Dougie, lie down. I know, you're a good boy. Got my boy right here. No Dave versus Dave. We're going to World Bigfoot Radio. I made a change. Officially Forest of Monsters, welcome to the show. All right, we've got just under a minute here. Doug is a Ridgeback Lab German Shepherd cross. Excuse me. All right, everyone, here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Zamponia. Zamponia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as a clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with a little bit of swampiness, a little bit of dirtiness, a little bit of spookiness as we bring in the Swamp Dweller.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. In the early winter of 1996, I was dating a girl from the Tonto Apache Reservation in Payson, Arizona. After leaving the reservation sometime around 3 a.m. in the morning, I had a right-hand turn from the res to go back into town, before the stoplight and big casino were built there. And I saw the scariest thing I have ever seen in my lifetime. Off to my right, out of the big ditch just on the edge of the headlights, I saw a very strange and intimidating creature. The creature looked like a man at first, but I quickly learned it was nothing of the sort. This thing slowly walked from the right-hand shoulder of the road to the center of the right lane, right in front of me. It slowly walked across in front of me, staring at me the entire time, looking straight into my eyes. This thing had the body and torso of a well-developed man, yet it was covered in fur, that of which resembled the fur of a coyote or maybe a wolf. The torso was muscular, and then I noticed that this creature did not walk on normal legs. It had legs that were similar to a deer, and it walked on hooves. Lastly, I noticed the creature had a head the size of a man, but it had a small snout like a coyote snout, dog ears, and eyes that were very piercing and illuminating a grayish blue color. These eyes were not of human origin. I can say that confidently. Remember, this was 3 a.m. in the morning, and before the lights of the big casino or the street lights in the southern Payson area were put in. Its eyes literally glowed, and it stared at me as it then made its way into the second left-hand lane. It again stopped and stared at me as I slowly drove by. The whole time I had eye contact with this thing. I must add that even though this incident did happen, I felt like I was the only person on the planet at that moment, and that this creature knew everything about me. Everything I was, everything I ever would be. It owned me in every single way. It appears the entire world went into slow motion, and I was meant to see this thing. As I passed the creature, and was able to finally break eye contact with it, I shift gears in my truck and haul ass all the way to town, and all the way home, on the north side of Payson. I could not even take my eyes off the road, and was afraid to even look beside me. As stated above, this thing owned me, in every way. When I arrived home, I literally had to call my father on my cell phone, and have him turn on the porch light and step outside of the house before I could make it to the porch in the dark. I tried to explain to my father what I had seen out there, but could not stop crying because I was just replaying what I had seen in my mind over and over again. When I could finally talk, I explained what I had seen, and my father agreed to go back with me at first light to see if we could find any sign of fresh tracks or anything that would help explain my experience. I am a fourth-generation big game hunter, and I was raised in the back country hunting and fishing. And even though at first light we would go check the tracks, I knew what I saw was not human. I sat up until daylight and headed toward the res at first light. As expected, we couldn't find any tracks or any fresh sign of anything. I did not go back to see my girlfriend for some time afterward. It was almost a week before I would go back out there. When I did go back and told my girlfriend what I saw, she did not seem too surprised and began to explain something to me. She then stated that her father needed to talk to me ASAP. I waited for a few days to go up there and see him. When I did, he brought me into this room, and I proceeded to tell him what I saw that night. He told me what I had seen was a skinwalker. I can tell you shortly after, I left my girlfriend for non-related issues and have not gone back to that res ever since.
It's real easy. You got skinwalkers, you don't go into that area. New feature here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. You know, we got John with the UFO Report. How about Super Duke with the Bigfoot Report? Let's do it. All right, Super Duke Sullivan from World Bigfoot Radio on YouTube, one of the bigger Bigfoot channels out there, comes on in to talk about the latest and greatest in Sasquatch stories that are passing on up, as well as other cryptids from around North America. If anybody's going to be on top of it, it will be the man who wears a cape every time he's behind a microphone, Super Duke Sullivan. Duke, welcome back, my friend. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Dave. Glad to be here, buddy.
Now, I know you're just getting over feeling pretty ill over the last couple of days. You doing any better?
Yeah, well, at least you should be able to hear and understand my voice at this point, so hopefully that's an improvement. Are you hearing me okay on that end?
You sound wonderful. You sound
Okay.
wonderful. And you're looking like a modern day bass guitarist for Van Halen. Just saying.
Oh my God. No, I lean
Like-
more toward the Lemmy Kilminster school myself. I've had beers with him before. But anyway, tonight on the agenda is to kind of go back and cover something that was really exciting in the Bigfoot world a few years ago, and then sort of just kind of got ignored. And of course, everybody has heard about the Ketchum DNA study. Well, there were some other DNA things going on that really didn't get all that much attention. And one of the things was in July 2017, Dr. Dukeman at the Buffalo University just sort of stumbled upon during the course of some DNA research on really ancient DNA lines that there was this weird sub-Saharan African DNA line that didn't fit in with anything. It was not only not similar to any modern human line, it wasn't even remotely similar to Denisovan or Neanderthal either. So they're like, what the heck is this thing? We don't have a skeleton to go with it or anything, but here's this weird DNA line. Well, then simultaneously to this going on, you had somebody else that was doing research with the Department of Hominology out of Moscow, which had years before had sent field guys out to do dig up evidence on the Zana report. And for those that haven't heard about Zana, apparently this female Sasquatch was captured in Georgia. We're talking the Russia version of Georgia, not here in the U.S. A long time ago, over 100 years ago, and basically enslaved by these local people. This lord caught her first and kept her basically chained out in the yard next to his castle for 3 years. And she wasn't wearing any clothes or anything. She dug a hole in the ground that she lived in. This is the first clue we're not talking about a human. Second thing is her physical description. And when they sent Dr. Porshnev and Dr. Dmitry Bayanov, who's now been deceased about 2 years, who wrote In Search of the Russian Snowman, amongst other books. They went over there and actually did boots on the ground and did interviews with some of the oldest people in the village that could remember when they still had Zana there. And what was Zana like? Well, first dead giveaway, we're not talking about a human here. Zana had dark gray skin. Humans don't have dark gray skin. Second thing, body covered with reddish black hair. Speech, even though she lived with them for decades, she never managed to learn any words in their language. And she'd just make like animal-like noises or scream if she got particularly disturbed. She's described physically as tall and muscular, massive and broad shoulder. And one thing that she could do that humans absolutely cannot do, and several of them reported this, she could turn out her big toe. And we can't turn our big toe out to the side. That's impossible, but she could do that. Her face was described as having broad and terrifying, high cheekbones, flat nose, turned out nostrils, muzzle-like jaw, wide mouth with large teeth, low forehead, and eyes with a reddish tinge. She wouldn't wear clothes, and when they tried to put clothes on her, she'd rip them off and throw them away. She lived outside year-round. She'd wander around in the woods at night. During the summer, she liked to bathe in mud wallows with wild buffaloes. There's something a human can't get away with. She could outrun a horse. She would routinely swim across the river next to the village during the winter. And apparently some of the local men, when they had enough vodka, desperation, or panache, would attempt to bed her occasionally, and this resulted in hybrid children. And on the first few occasions, as soon as she gave birth, she tried to take them down to the river and wash them off, and the cold water killed them immediately.
Yeah.
So whatever this creature was, it doesn't sound like very much like a human. So now the only question is, what was it exactly? Well, now we skip forward in time. She's been long dead. They haven't been able to find where exactly in this ancient cemetery her remains are, but they know who her kids were. And one of her direct descendants, first generation, they dug his skull up. They sent one of the teeth to Dr. Sykes at Oxford University, who had it analyzed. And guess what was in it? This MUC7E gene that's only in this weird, antique, extinct, para-humanoid race in sub-Saharan Africa. It doesn't exist anywhere currently on Earth. How did this gene get into this weird little population there? And who was mommy exactly? So here's the other interesting thing. Now that we have this MUC7E gene, and we have a fairly good guess that it's probably Sasquatch that it's related to, if you can get drool off an apple that a Bigfoot took a bite out of, you can test it for MUC7E.
Wow. Wow. I don't even know what to say about that, man.
Well, the other thing is that this came out quite a while ago. Rich Soul, who was one of the people that pointed this out, and the first time it was actually mentioned was in 2018, I believe, the early winter 2018 at a Bigfoot conference in Nebraska, where he brought it up. And then he brought it to Dr. Sykes' attention shortly after that. And he was at that time doing a DNA study on samples he had gotten from all over the world and trying to see, what he had there. And this was interesting news to him. And he actually was interested in doing something with it. But shortly after that, he retired. So he hasn't got access to do anything with it. He was one of the who's a professor of human genetics at Oxford University. Well, now the Russians haven't had the wherewithal or funding from the government to be able to do anything with it on their side, other than gather more samples that hopefully they can do something with in the future. And as usual, the American so-called scientists are sitting on their hands and doing nothing.
Why do you think the scientific community is still kind of slapping this subject to the side?
Well, they've definitely got an agenda that, for whatever reason, doesn't include the fact that there's still parallel hominins running around on Earth extant. They apparently do not like that idea for whatever reason. Of course, we can have theories all day long about what that is, but it's not completely universal. I mean, some countries have grudgingly admitted their existence. The Yeren, which is the Sasquatch version in China, is taught to the school children there that, yeah, it's this real thing. It's this weird, rare animal. They've got a big park over there that's set aside for them. It's got a statue of mommy and baby Yeren, huge size, leaning over the entranceway, kissing each other. In Russia, it's the same thing. They acknowledge that the creature exists. Dr. Porshev, Dr. Banov, and Dr. Burtsev, who's the only one of the three still alive, we're all working in the Department of Hominology, which is part of the Department of Evolutionary Science in Moscow, Russia. So it's actually connected to their government. They just basically don't get any funding. They're allowed to go out and do whatever research they want. They're just not getting much of anything in the way of funding to do it.
Of course, it all comes down to grants and funding in order to make any type of study happening. I mean, hell, a few years ago, if you read some of the stupidest government grants that are out there, how about $300,000 a few years ago for seeing the reaction of mountain lions walking on treadmills?
Oh, yeah. What was it? The cocaines and Chuck Wallas or something? I can't remember. They had some animal. They were going to give them a whole pile of cocaine and see if they got horny or something. It's like, yeah, there's a good waste of taxpayer money.
Yeah, that's the kind of grants we're talking about here on Spaced Out Radio. Duke, there is, as we continue on with this feature with you, it's going to happen twice a week here as we move on. But for you, as you look into the study of Sasquatch, and you have just a great channel, World Bigfoot Radio on YouTube, I'm curious. You've seen the divide between the Bigfoot community for so many years now. I don't know about you, but I'm really starting to see more people straying away from the hardcore scientific, this is a North American bipedal ape or great ape or Nephilim or whatever they want to call it. And they seem to be adapting more to the idea that there might be something a little bit more unique and special to Sasquatch. Are you seeing that too?
Yeah, I'm seeing a gradual drift in that direction, and I don't blame them for it at all, because for about the first 30 years I was doing this, I was on the "it's strictly flesh and blood" page, because everything that I saw, everything I was encountering, there was an explanation for it. Yeah, they're incredibly sneaky. Yes, they have the transparent hair that can blend in with the colors around them. That's a physical thing. We've had the hair and tried it. We know that's real. Doesn't take paranormal abilities. Works when we're holding the hair too. Okay. But then you start seeing examples of them doing things that just don't really have a physical explanation. And you start hearing it over and over again. And people start getting weird things on video that they should, if this stuff wasn't happening, they wouldn't be getting it. So it's just, you just have to actually look at the evidence that's coming in. I think Dr. John Bindernagel had a great saying on that. If you have one person to report to you that they saw the Jolly Green Giant, maybe it's an anomaly and they're just having some mental issues. But if you have maybe 2, 3, 4, or 5 people all in the same area that don't know each other, all report seeing something that looks like the Jolly Green Giant, you need to go take a look into it. So it's just the weight of evidence. And I think that's what's finally starting to happen, that people are realizing that the old methodology and dogma about it's some kind of unknown ape running around the woods doesn't hold water, because if it was, look, we would have had one in a zoo 150 years ago. So either it isn't out there or it's not a big ape running around the woods. And that's pretty much what people are left with.
One other question. We got about 4.5 minutes left with you tonight on the debut of Bigfoot Talk here on Spaced Out Radio. Today is the 4-year anniversary that Dr. John Bindernagel passed away.
Yeah, very sad.
And, he was 84 years old, spent literally 70 years plus chasing down this creature. Never, ever saw one. And hated the word squatch. Hated it. I love him for it. Love him for it. But the impact that Dr. Bindernagel had, there's been some classics out there, okay? Whether it's Albert Ostman, Renee DeHinden, John Green, numerous people out there who've been searching for this. But what made the late John Bindernagel, Dr. Bindernagel, such an important factor, an icon in this field?
Not only because he was an actual academic scientist, but he had a background that was more suited to be involved in this field than just about anybody else that's done it, Grover Krantz included. The other thing is that he was willing to get out the field there and actually take a look at it and not just sit behind a computer or a desk and read books and look at reports. He wanted to get out there and actually take a look at it. And I know plenty of examples of that. I mean, he flew all the way up to Northeast Ontario to be up there with Blaine Tyler for a few days and look at his research areas and some of the stuff that was happening up there. So he was boots on the ground guy too. So he has to respect all the researchers for that. And then the other thing is that he was a very serious scientist. He took the subject very seriously, and he spent a lot of time fighting with his colleagues, just going, hey, I don't care if you believe it or not, look at the evidence, which they wouldn't. And here's the perennial problem. Everybody's like, well, where's the evidence for Sasquatch? Hey, we've got the evidence. They won't look at it.
That was his big fight. And I remember him telling me, and I only got to talk to the man once, but I remember him telling me point blank that numerous times over the decades, he invited his fellow researchers to come with him to hot spots where he could take them to see the evidence, and they just flat out refused. That's not very scientific if you're refusing to see what the potentiality of another creature being out there is.
Nope, that's very not scientific whatsoever, but it is in line with the dogmatic thinkers that rule the halls of academia and know who's paying their paychecks and don't have the balls to step out of line. It's something you got to give Jeff Meldrum credit for, because he is willing to talk about this and write books about it. Yeah, he's a professor, so he's harder to get rid of, but he's at least doing it. And, John Mayanzinski, and there's a few other people, but really in North America, we should have more actual researchers and scientists on this. The people that have got involved in it and actually taken a hard look at it have pretty much kept looking at it, because there's there. It's not a nothing burger. The more you start looking, the more evidence you start finding.
And they are out there. And I will say this, for anybody who has never been in the forest, who all of a sudden, out of the blue, you don't need to see the creature, but in the middle of nowhere, when all of a sudden you end up seeing a 15, 18, 20-inch footprint in the middle of nowhere, it's very eerie, and you immediately feel very, very small, Duke.
I'll tell you what, that doesn't wear off either. Even when you know that you're in their area, they're around you, you're expecting to see, hear, or find tracks. You find an 18-inch track, dude, it's disturbing, because you get a real sense of scale right then and there, just how little you are compared to who it is that's following you around right there.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I will say this as a complete amateur, it doesn't take a scientist to be able to recognize a 20-foot footprint or 20-inch footprint that looks extremely human in the middle of nowhere. Super Duke, tell everybody where they can find World Bigfoot Radio.
You can find me over on YouTube, on Brighteon, BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey.
And on MeWe for social media.
And on MeWe and on Facebook. If you want to go to my group on Facebook, it is Montana Bigfoot Project.
Right on, my friend. We'll talk to you in a couple of nights.
Take care, everybody.
All right, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. Yes, the man, the myth, and the caped Bigfoot legend right there. We really appreciate him coming on in. Coming up next, we are going to join Shane Hewitt and the Shift out of Vancouver. We're going to go right across Canada, talking a little bit of UFO stuff. And we are also going to have Shirky Boo's news and the thought of the day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues after this. All right, we're clear. That was a good first start. Sonny from Chop Shop could not do the Dave versus Dave anymore. His back was absolutely killing him, so he had to step away. And that's why we had to move Duke in there. Teresa, I think you were planning on going to San Francisco as well for UFO Con. Just wanted to let you know that, and anybody else know, if you haven't heard already, UFO Con 2022 has been delayed 1 month to March 25th through 27th in San Francisco, California. I will be there. I believe Lynn Wallington is going to be there. We're going to have a great show going on down there. And I'm very much looking forward to it. I love Lorian Fenton's events. They're amazing. You get incredible people speaking at her events. And if you're a UFO nut like I am, it's one of the best to go to. Not just because I'm speaking there, but because even when I'm not speaking there, I'm promoting it. So then it's been changed to March. Hey, Vancouver, how you doing?
Oh, doing just great. How are you this week?
Oh, not too bad. First time this year we're going to be talking.
Yes. And just for your update, it's beardless Shane now.
Oh, he shaved.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm Handlebar Dave now.
Okay. Nice. All right. So yeah, we'll connect with you at 36.
All right. See you in a few. What's the matter, Doug? Do you need to go outside? I'm going to quickly run my dog outside, guys. I'll be right back. He's giving me that look. Nobody. Sorry about that, guys. All right. We're about a minute away here. Big thank you to Grantavius, Apollo ×2, Sapphire, Thomas Linsos for the super chats. We really do appreciate it. Hey, Derek from Para-Urban Radio, Ontario. I need to chat with you about something here. Because could you message me on social media if you don't mind? I would appreciate that. All right, people. 15 seconds. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Let's head over to Vancouver. Hook up with the freshly shaven Shane Hewitt and the Shift.
Connecting with us
All
here
right.
on the Shift in the middle of the Sasquatch land, saying hello. Dave Scott, how are you?
Good, my friend. I heard the Razor got a hold of you.
Yeah, I did. Oh, yeah, I do. I once my Santa chores are done, the white beard goes away. I heard it also got a hold of you slightly.
Yeah, I'm rocking a handlebar right now just because I can.
Being bearded brothers is one thing that we shared here
Yes.
for the last little bit. I grow mine from about August to January. That's really what it is. Dave grows his from when he started growing it to when he's had enough.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I hope you had a good New Year and holiday, my friend, and hello to all of your audience from all of us at Spaced Out Radio. We really do appreciate this feature that you do with us monthly.
Oh, that's fun. We love it. And we had all kinds of questions. We have all kinds of shift heads that reach out and say, hey, when Dave's coming on with the weird UFO stuff? So here we are. We might as well get into it, my friend.
Yeah, let's get right into it.
We've got new government programs to take on all the UFO business. Anything coming of it?
Well, you know what? In the United States, we are seeing, obviously, the passing of the defense bill, which happened last month, where all of a sudden they are going to be throwing taxpayers' dollars at UFOs. The problem that we are having with this is, as much as that is great and the UFO community is waving the victory flag, is it really a victory? And the reason why we say that is because we're pretty much told we're not going to get anything, or very, very little. Like, we're talking less than table scraps, my friend, of any sightings, videos, any news about the military. And I think over the last few years, with the work from Chris Mellon and Luis Elizondo and the job that they have done in bringing this story out to the public, whether you agree with them or not in their tactics, I think one of the big things that we are seeing is they have put egg on the face of the United States military. And the military and the spy alphabet agencies, they don't like it when the public asks questions. They don't like it when the politicians ask questions. The only time that they want to speak to the politicians and the public is when they are asking for more money. Well, now we do know that UFOs, as considered a threat by the intelligence agencies and the politicians, consider UFOs a threat. Therefore, American taxpayer dollars are going to be spent on it. Now, as for us up here in Canada, nothing is going on. Because, once again, as we've talked before, if we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. And that's what we're seeing up here right now.
So okay, so that's America versus Canada. And why would they do that? We're going to have a department of the UFO but by the way, you're not going to find out about it. So why even do that? Why wouldn't you just make it Area 51 style, have it be secretive, forget about everybody else? Because this seems crazy.
Well, I think there's a lot of speculation about what's going on. And I think we've talked about this previously a number of months ago, where we talked about we don't know how it's going to affect the economies. We don't know how it's going to affect people. Look, it's pretty obvious through the whole COVID pandemic that we've really learned to hate thy neighbor for the most part. Okay, whether you're vaxxed, whether you're not vaxxed, whether you're supporting truck drivers or whether you're supporting the politicians and what they're doing, doesn't matter. The one thing that we have learned over this whole couple of years is that we don't treat each other very well. And let's face it, if this is what we are doing on a pandemic that will eventually, phase itself out, as all pandemics do, what are we going to do if all of a sudden aliens come and land? How are we going to react? How much toilet paper is going to be hoarded? How many potato chip bags are going to be left on the store shelves? We don't know. And this, believe it or not, is some of the questions that are being asked, not only in Washington, D.C., but in political arenas around the world, but for the most part, very much behind the back doors. Look, we know this subject is gaining traction with Canadian politicians, especially with some of the opposition parties. But what we don't know is how much of that conversation is actually taking place because of what is going on. It is the perfect time to hide this story from the public. It is the perfect time to keep this story away, so that way it does not gain traction. And for the most part, the government right now, when it comes to UFOs, is winning on the political and media field.
When you got started in this, Dave, and all of you, I guess there's two kinds of UFO people. This is what I'm learning, and your clarification and and correction, please. But it seems like there are two kinds of UFO people. There are the people that literally go looking for the info, like Skywalker Ranch style, that are literally trying to dig it up. And then there are the people that do the politics. So is that kind of what this world has turned into, the political fighters, and then the Indiana Jones style of, program searchers, looking for wrecks, all that kind of stuff, scavengers, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, look, anybody can be an amateur ufologist. There is no professional ufologists out there. Even the people who are on the television shows are not professional because there is no career around it. Then you're right. There is a very divided group. You have the people who claim they have made contact and had experiences with not only UFOs, but extraterrestrials. They want to know what's going on and why those experiences have been very personal to them. And you have the people out there who love this subject because maybe they grew up in a sci-fi world and they want to believe that there is more amongst the stars than what we have been told. Then you have the people who have literally delved into the information and had people in ranking positions within the military or within the government to say, we have things. We've seen things. We have technology that has crashed here from other worlds that we cannot figure out. And it opens up this Pandora's box in trying to figure out which side is right. What do you do, Shane, when you talk to someone who claims to have been abducted and flown a spacecraft? There are a number of people who have made this claim. They're not crazy. This is what they've allegedly experienced. What do you do with people who say they worked in top secret areas where they've seen craft fly in and land on runways? Do we believe them? No or yes. There's all of these different depictions of what is going on and people who have talked. Look, if this was a murder case or some sort of criminal case, there is more than enough evidence to get a conviction that UFOs are real or Sasquatch is real or the paranormal is real. But because we are dealing with something so esoteric, we just push it to the side because our opinion takes over rather than looking at the evidence.
So what are the, I mean, okay, so I've watched the shows from that claim from, say, naval ships that have seen the lights and seen the, you know, yeah, the weird movements and the triangles in the sky and all that stuff. Where is most of the information coming from? Because I guess there's kind of, and I'm playing stereotypes
Right.
here. I'm not making
Right.
judgment.
No.
But there's always the stereotype of the, you know, the rural American kidnapped person who was drinking on a tailgate, drinking some Budweiser, got kidnapped. So, you know, what is legit and how do you cut through that?
Well, I mean, what you have to do is you actually have to start looking into the academia that is following this. All right. Not just government type scientists, but there are scientists from all over the world looking into this. I mean, even close to home where you are, there's a professor at Simon Fraser University, Paul Kingsbury, who didn't believe anything about this subject. A few years ago, he received a grant in order to study why people believe in the paranormal and supernatural. He went on ghost tours. He went on Sasquatch investigations. He went UFO hunting with a gentleman named Charles Lamoureux out of Vancouver, who's very popular. And you know what? He's a believer now. He is also on the board of directors of the Scientific Coalition of UAP Studies. And there are many university scientists, whether it's Avi Loeb from Harvard, whether it's Paul Kingsbury, and others very heavy into the academia who are literally taking a look at this phenomena. Look, it's not about what you say, the stereotype. I always like to use the example of, you know, the person who's never made more than minimum wage, who works the night shift at the local gas station, never had a dental plan, and probably doesn't even have teeth. You know, I mean, that wears a tinfoil hat because everything is a conspiracy. That's the way majority of people out there take someone who believes in UFOs. But the funny part about it, Shane, and I take you to task on this, and anyone who is listening, just start asking people one-on-one, you ever seen a UFO? And it's amazing how many people will come up to you and say, yeah, I have. This is what I saw. Because the majority of people out there, they already know what Starlink looks like. They know what the International Space Station looks like. They know what satellites look like. And when all of a sudden a black triangle flies over, or you see a row of blue lights or green lights flying through the sky, and all of a sudden, you know, makes that left turn to Albuquerque at a 90-degree angle, you know we don't have the technology to do that. Or so we know. It's unidentified. The majority of people out there have seen things or experienced things that they can't explain. But instead of talking to them because they don't want the quote, end quote, embarrassment, they just, you know, laugh it off, make fun of the topic.
Louis Elizondo, has that book come out yet or no?
No, we're hoping by spring or summer.
So Louis Elizondo, he was a former Pentagon dude who ran a UFO program, and
Yes.
do I have that right? And then
Yes.
he's got a book deal now that he's got a memoir that's been deal signed. Everyone's talked about the deal. He looks tough. It's really tough, actually. But we haven't heard specifically what's in the book. There's been a lot of speculation around it.
Could you imagine if, and I'm going to, you know, I would hedge my bets on Vegas in this. I'd put $100 down on this. If that book comes out that he's also an extraterrestrial contactee experiencer.
Interesting.
Right? Now, I have no proof of that. I have no understanding of that. But listening to the man talk in as many interviews as he has done, including a couple on my show, it would be very interesting to see if he came out with that. Very interesting. whether it's a close encounter with a UFO or whether it's ET contact. They're two different things.
For those who don't know, he was featured on CBS 60 Minutes. Like, this is not just some dude who came out of the woodwork and said, "I've got the Sasquatch in a freezer," right? Like, this is legitimate guy who worked there.
And for your audience, I will also let them know that Luis Elizondo, during his time in the Pentagon, had spent numerous times up in Canada talking about this subject with very important people who have been elected.
How much do you think he can spill the beans versus, confidentiality and all those things?
Well, I think there's certain things that he cannot say due to being American and due to being having a non-disclosure agreement with the United States government. But I also think that he has been instructed many times to talk to what we call the Five Eyes. The Five Eyes being Great Britain, Canada, the United States, New Zealand, and Australia. And with those, we know that they are sharing UFO information. We know that that information goes cross-platform right into NORAD. We know this is happening. We know that they are taking this subject very seriously. What we don't know is why certain governments, out of them, like Great Britain and Canada especially, are staying so silent on it. Elizondo himself says there are things happening in Canada. The Americans have received many Canadian reports about UFOs from the military and beyond. However, it's a subject that just doesn't get a lot of play.
You think it would?
You would hope so.
Interesting. It is HarperCollins, by the way, that has the book deal, if I've read this properly, one of their sub-companies. And so, this is not a, I found a publisher on Google to kick my book out either. That to me lends an awful lot of value to the credibility of the story.
From what I'm hearing is this has a potential to be a 7-figure deal.
Really?
Yeah. His story is that well known. And of course, he can go on all the podcasts, radio shows, television interviews as he wants. But when it comes down to the autobiography, that's where he says he is saving some of the best information for that. And you know what? I don't blame him. Everybody deserves to cash their lottery ticket every now and again. And if this is his lottery ticket with the $1 million deal, if it is indeed a $1 million deal, that's just what I'm hearing in the backbenches of the subject, then good for him. Good for him. I have zero problem with that.
Well, isn't that what most people try to do in the world of the mystery and the mystical, is try to solve it so they can make money off it? And we've seen that backfire on people who try to fake it, and the people who seem to be legitimate are few and far between, but they also seem to do very well. So it's very interesting. Dave Scott is here with us. Thank you. SpacedOutRadio.com. I really appreciate you being here, but I can't wait to chat again.
Talk to you next month, Shane. Thank you very much to your audience for letting us play along with you.
Love it.
All right, let's continue on with Shirky Poo's news. Shirky Poo. It's always got to set up for something good here. Let's start off with the comic books. Man, if we would have saved some of these as kids, treated them properly, where would we be? An auction house said a Marvel Comics page featuring the first appearance of Spider-Man's iconic black costume has sold for a record-breaking $3.36 million. Heritage Auction said the original artwork by Mike Zeck, which became page 25 of Secret Wars number 8, 1984, is now the world's most valuable page of original comic book artwork, being auctioned off for over $3 million. Holy cow. One page. All right. I'm just going to say this. If you are in a dire situation, don't take selfies. So Shirky Poo gets me this story about this lady in Ottawa, Canada's capital, who literally had her car plunge through the thin ice of the Rideau Canal. Now, she was able, fortunately, to crawl onto her car while it's sinking. But instead of, trying to rescue herself, she climbs up onto the back window of the sedan and takes a selfie or two. I'm sure she was TikToking or Instagramming on what not to do in this situation. The water is at sub-zero temperatures. You may want to think that a river has current. And even though it's frozen and your car is sinking, you may not want to take that selfie. I'm just saying, it doesn't look good. Not at all. All right, the Winter Olympics in Beijing are coming up here, and apparently that all game attendees must contain security weaknesses that leave users exposed to data breaches. So the My 2022 app that has been put out by athletes, audience members, and media for daily COVID monitoring is now up and running. Not like the Chinese government trying to track anything. You know what I'm saying? Why would they? People attending the Beijing Olympics should bring burner phones and create email accounts for their time in China. Cybersecurity firm Internet 2.0 said. Yep. Why? Well, several countries have also reportedly told athletes to leave their main devices at home so they can't be hacked. Yeah, the list of words that is not allowed to be said in China has included pro-democracy, protesters, Tiananmen Square, the religious group Falun Gong, all banned. In other words, you could be an athlete, you could be standing on the podium for a gold medal, but if you drop a Falun Gong, you're toast. You're going to jail. You do not pass go. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the news, Shane Hewitt from The Shift, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, and of course Swamp Dweller, and our guest tonight, Ella LeBain, for a wonderful, wonderful show tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. There's our man Super Quest. Take us home, Captain, you son of a bitch. Come on, you jerk. Get us home safely. Love it. Yes. Derek from Urban. I'll message you back here in a second. Jason Pearl, what's going on? The lovely Lavira, what are you doing? Lovely Lavira. Hey, I don't have to wear these. Cool. go here. And let's go here. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Close that out. Close. What the hell? No, close that out. 1 second here, guys. Do this, do that, do this, do that. It just never ends. It just never ends. Save. Right like that. All right. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Sorry, I'm closing off a bunch of windows here that I don't need, and I'm getting confused by. Let me see here. I gotta bring that down a touch. How we doing, guys? I just want to go over one thing quickly here, guys, if you don't mind. Hi, gorgeous Kim Jellin. How are you? One quick thing here. I know that a lot of you ask questions during the show, and I know sometimes I don't get to certain questions. There's a reason for this, and probably should have explained it a lot sooner than now, but that's just who I am. I don't really do anything until I think about it. But one of the reasons why at times I will skip over questions, it's not that I'm ignoring you or ignoring your question on purpose, but it's sometimes there are questions that are completely off topic with what we are getting into, or it takes more pushes things more into a conspiratorial realm that I don't feel comfortable broadcasting. Now, I know you guys out there, you want me to talk or say absolutely everything, but I do have to play by rules, not only with, and as much as I don't agree with them, I do have to play by YouTube's rules. I do have to play by terrestrial radio rules, but I will say this, never in the 6 years we've been broadcasting on terrestrial radio, have I ever had one of my radio stations tell me what we can and cannot say outside of swear words. Thank you, Steve Wolf, for that super chat. Really do appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. And so I just like to be careful because I know it is working for the audience. And YouTube, I know we had, like, for instance, we had 140 people in here tonight. That was absolutely wonderful. Sometimes we have more, sometimes we have less. But what you're not seeing at times is I have to, at times, not just think of the YouTube side of everything. I have to think of the terrestrial radio people. I have to think of the podcast people and anybody else who is listening on in. So if I skip your question, like I skipped a number tonight, I am doing it on purpose, but I'm not doing it to insult you and like, oh, I'm not going to ask that guy's question. And over the years, I've had people flip out on me about, well, you didn't ask my question. You never asked my question. Well, if we're talking Dogman and then all of a sudden you ask me why the sky is blue, bad example, but I'm going to use that one. It doesn't really pertain to the show. Or if it's going to take us down a road that could potentially get me in trouble, I'm not going down that road. Now, there were some great questions tonight that I skipped over, but, I look at the questions, and because the way the chat room moves, okay, me being a one-man show, there are certain times where we've moved on to a subject, and, we're still wanting to go back to that old subject from like 20 minutes ago. Not that that's anyone's fault, because it's not. But it's hard to all of a sudden, go from point A to point B, then to point C, but then we got to ask a question back in point A. So that is kind of the conundrum that I am in on a nightly basis hosting this show. So if I skip your question, and I know I took the long road answer here, but please, if I skip your question, okay, no, you do not need to super chat to get your question read. Because sometimes the chat room is just moving too fast, and I'm doing my best here, but sometimes the subject matter has already moved on. And as a host, I have to make that tough decision on not going backwards and keep the show moving forwards. So, excuse me, that's kind of where I stand on that. So, some of you, like I said, some of you may agree, some of you may not agree. I just want to give you my point of view on what's going on. So that's what's going on. Nice and simple. Nice and simple. How many wrenches do I have here right now? I don't know, on 3. That's 3. That's all right. I got it, Jenny. I got it. Is that what our count is tonight for the troll bots tonight? Is 8? It's because we didn't mention a lot of UFO tonight, even though it was kind of a UFO night. Hey, are you guys all ready to merle it up for tomorrow night? Let's be honest. I'm ready to merle. Are you ready to merle? I'll cut that. I already saved that. Yeah. Let's get rid of that. All right. Oh, and the other thing too about the whole question thing. I know there was a guy who used to come into our room, YJ Overlander Canada. I never ever saw his questions, and he got so pissed off thinking that I was editing him that he left the show. And he did the same thing not only to me, but to Lynn as well, thinking that we were pissed off at him and cutting out his questions and not asking his questions on purpose. And that couldn't be further from the truth. That was interesting. I don't know why that happened. I think because on StreamYard, this is the only thing that I can think of, is YouTube has a live chat, and then they have a live chat option and a top chat option. And I think with StreamYard, they only have a top chat option. So that's where it was. I think that's what was happening. How many wrenches do we have in here? There is Obi, I have no clue. I have no clue. People come and go. That's all I'll say. Good morning, Body Tech. Thank you, brother Eugene. So our wrenches in here right now. We have Jenny. We have Duke. I'm gonna make gorgeous Aussie Ange a wrench. Do you want a wrench, Aussie Ange? Let me know. You're usually here all the time. There you go, gorgeous Aussie Ange. See you in Vegas. One thing with our wrenches who are in the chat room. Who else? Duke. Jenny. That's it right now. Unless it's we're cutting down on the advertisement in the chat room, but unless it's anything to do with Spaced Out Radio, UFO Garage, or World Bigfoot Radio, or Thomas Fessler, we're not posting the any more links. So no more links outside of those, if you don't mind. Thomas Fessler, UFO Garage, ourselves, and Duke's World Bigfoot. And when the other wrenches show up, let's fill them in on that. If you don't mind helping me out with that, I would appreciate that. I will try to remember. I'd love for PewDiePie to listen to this show and then go on his channel. Can you imagine if PewDiePie or Mr. Beast actually came into this channel? Now, I know I'm probably way too old for them to do that, but I think it would be friggin' cool to have one of them come on in. Even for one of them to like mention us would be like, it would shoot our numbers up by probably 5,000 to 10,000 minimum. And how many? I gotta look here. How many subscribers does PewDiePie have now? Because he's the top-rated channel on YouTube. He's got 111 million subscribers. 111 million. And then Mr. Beast has 88.4 million. We're almost at 15,000. I'm excited about that. Even if I had like 500,000 subscribers, I would I wouldn't have to do my daytime job. Oh, I'm very happy with almost 15,000. The thousands start to come faster. I've heard at 15,000. I don't know how true it is, but I heard it like once your channel hits like 15,000 subscribers, it really starts to push forward and take off. Now, like I said, I don't know how true that is. I've heard it's 20,000. I've heard it's 10,000. Well, we really didn't see it at 10,000. But it's not just people hitting subscribe, though. They got to watch the videos, too. They got to watch the videos. I would love to put one of those YouTube buttons right there. I think that would be cool. Love to see that. Oh, we'd have to figure out a new chat system. If we even had 100,000. Like, I've seen chat rooms with like 1,000 people in them. 800 to 1,000, and those chat rooms they're moving at the speed of light. Then we'd have to change our game plan a little bit. Have to have all the wrenches looking for questions to send them to me. That's the truth of it. Let's just upload this. Ella LeBain. Love her. Come on, transfer. All right. You never know. Hopefully we'll get there. Hopefully. See where it goes. Main thing is I'm having fun. Having a lot of fun. I really am. I'm following it. Ella hasn't been here for like an hour and 22 minutes, David Lopez. I don't know why I'm chewing on that. Any other questions before we get ready to call it the night? I did not see it, Duke. Is it on your YouTube channel now? I'm going to check it on out. I don't even know what you said about me. Oh, here. Hold on. Let's bring this up here. Videos. That was a couple days ago. Around the 51-minute mark. Right near the end. Hold on. Let's show you guys this. Hope you don't mind. I'm going to play this, Duke. Hope you don't mind. Oh, hold on. There I am. Look at that. Hold on. Let's unmute this. That way you guys can hear it. I got to mute my mic. Keep on rocking, man, because it's I know you guys are going to find some good stuff, and I'm looking forward to hearing all the stories from you guys, and so be safe out there. Don't go get raped by a Wookiee.
Weird.
I better put my mic on. Don't go get raped by a Wookiee. Stealing Super Duke's line right there. I heard you laugh, Duke. I heard you laugh. That was awesome. Thanks for throwing that in there, buddy. Big time cameo right there, man. Big time cameo. By the way, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but Merle and I have a secret. Merle and I have a secret that we are likely going to share tomorrow night. We're going to share it with you guys. Secrets with Merle tomorrow night on the show. I might even shave for it. I might even shave. Yeah. What is that about, Jenny? Get her, it's going great. Is that a YouTube thing? I don't see it. No, new network. What is Getter? Oh, it's another platform. I see. I'll have to check it out. Ozzy Ange, if you head to Vegas with the rest of us, I will grow my beard for Vegas. How about that? How about that? We'll make that trade. All right. Tomorrow night on the show, Merle is back for Ghosts of the Great White North. Special guest, Paranormal Television investigator Nick T. White. Going to talk about some hauntings and everything. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. I want to see a lot of Merles in the chat room. A lot of Merles. Merle the fuck out of tomorrow night's show. That's all I'm saying. Because we need that. We need that. I love it when the chat room lights up Merle. Makes him roll his eyes because Merle doesn't like being called Merle, even though he is Merle and it is his name, Merle. Jason, it's on. It's on. I've got like 2 different lengths growing here. So I've got this level here. Then underneath that level, I got another level that's growing. Oh, maybe that one caught up. I don't know. Yeah. Well, is that secondary level? Oh, that's old level. There we go. Tomorrow night, Merle it up, people. Thank you tonight to Apollo times 2, Grantavius, Lynn Sows, Steve, Sapphire, and Thomas for the great super chats. Thank you to all of the veterans who are tuning us in. You always have a safe home here on Spaced Out Radio. All of our lovely regulars, love you all. Thank you for a great night. We'll see you all tomorrow, and we're going to take us out right now. See